Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to race week 7 in the Midwest F1 League, and tonight, Division 2 heads to Shanghai for the Chinese Grand Prix. It's been a while since we visited this track, and it's going to be a cloudy one all day, but the racing is sure to be a bright spot of this 8th season. 16 corners make up this patience-testing 5.4-kilometer circuit. Now look for the two DRS zones to be the hot zone of overtaking, and drivers, however, as well, will have to be wary of their tires, as this circuit is known for its high degradation. Hotspot on the call with you tonight. Pleasure to be back. Division 2. Feels like a while since I've actually casted Division 2. So let's look at your starting grid then for the Chinese Grand Prix. It's Matt Rossi on pole with last week's Division 1 winner of CPI T-Brum in second. Nicky 64 in his 101st Grand Prix lines up third with his Aston Martin teammate of Shelley the Turtle in fourth. VTEC and Adaltonian, it's a third row lockout for Red Bull, 5th and 6th respectively. Frontrunner 7th. It'll be Helgelin in 8th. Houdini 9th, JCast 10th, 11th is Bobbert Yates, 12th is Villeneuve, 13th Josh Sr., 14th Hightower, 15th Capital 58, 16th PWR Grim Reefer, and unfortunately for Scuba Steve in the Alpine, he did not manage a time. So as the formation lap about to get underway for this Chinese Grand Prix, round 7 of the 8th season here in Midwest F1. I'd like to remind you, Midwest F1 brought to you by Raze Energy, Epos Audio, and Sim Racer Coin. It's been a while since we visited China. Last time we did on a full season calendar was, I believe, at least 2 or 3 seasons ago. And the formation lap getting underway. This is going to be the crucial battle off the line. Will be Matt Rossi and CPI T-Brum. Two drivers absolutely incredibly quick. Matt Rossi looking to bounce back, get his name going, get some... well, I don't know what that means. He's a former Division 1 driver. He's absolutely got loads of pace. CPI T-Brum, last week's Division 1 winner. Lined up side by side, and T-Brum's done the same thing he did last week in Monza, was go on the slower compound tire to start. Somehow, now I thought he was going to be at a huge disadvantage. He's made that work in Italy last week. We'll have to see if he makes it work today. He held out for the late safety car, and the late safety car came, hopefully for his sake, he plays it to a T again, because when he's on his game, it's an absolute masterclass. Nicky 64 and Shelley the Turtle, second row lockout for the Aston Martin team. Not to mention both of these drivers quite high up in the Division 2 standings. Let's check the driver standings and the constructor standings right now, shall we? Shelley the Turtle starting 4th, leads the brigade, 413, VTEC in 2nd, 364, and it gets hairy getting towards the rest of the top 10. Nicky 64, 335, Houdini 334, Scuba Steve 323, Frontrunner 314, and then right behind him's T-Brum at 298, Cali Rob at 296. It is an incredibly close battle within those couple of drivers there, and even more close, the battle for the constructors championship. AlphaTauri leads by 16 over Mercedes. It's 729 to 713. Aston Martin just a tick over Alpine, 664 to 660. Red Bull Racing in 5th at 621. So, a lot of championship implications in play here tonight. Quickly with the tires, only one on the softs, that's Capital 58. It has to be said, I think he'll be at a disadvantage, only 6 to 9 laps. Nice, for those soft tires. That is how long they'll last, not very long at all. The mediums 12 to 16, the hards 16 to 22. And I'm sorry, what's that? Is that a Haas we've got there that's gone off? That is, I hate to say it, that's Helgelin, I believe, has just spun it. Going out at turn 16, he's almost, I believe, is that where Alex Albon had his huge impact in 2019? If I'm getting that right, I might not. That is a possibility. I do have a tendency to get things wrong from time to time. So Matt Rossi will lead them off the grid. CPI T-Brum in 2nd. Two heavy hitters here in Division 2, ready to go as the lights turning on now here in China. Midwest F1, its return to the Shanghai International Circuit. It's lights out and away we go. Who gets the best start off the line? It looks like Matt Rossi might have him by a car length here, and he does. He's gotten away cleanly of the Aston Martin and the Mercedes behind him. It looks as if everything else behind looks pretty clean. The patience will be tested from the drivers here going through these first couple of corners. You don't don't want to make a mistake too early and end up with wing damage, and it looks like someone might be doing just that. It's a huge two-car pile up there. I say huge. It's Capital 58 and Hightower off towards the back. And unfortunately, Hightower disqualified for going the wrong way according to the game. That's not gone well at all. And I believe he was just going the wrong way to try to get the car back turned around there. Definitely possible. Oh! CPI T-Brum, does he save it? No! CPI T-Brum has lost it all on his own, and unfortunately for the Mercedes driver, he will be tumbling down the order now. Last week's Division 1 winner. Unfortunately, that doesn't mean you are immune to mistakes, as he's just made a big one there. Nicky 64 and 8 Eltonian side by side. I believe a little bit of contact was made there. It's certainly possible, as now they go through turns 12 and 13. It looks like VTEC has made his way into the top 3 as well. Beautiful action this is off the opening lap. Look at the blockage there from Nicky 64. Swerving back across the circuit to block 8 Eltonian. 8 Eltonian might have the straight line speed advantage getting down into a turn 14, and he does. He's got it by a car length on the way in. It looks like Bobbert, Yates, and Houdini side by side now. Drivers who need a good result here, still side by side, now side by side, with the AlphaTauri ahead is Houdini, and it looks like Matt Rosie sets the fastest lap. Oh, but what's this? It's Josh Sr. off at the back, and I believe he is spun. That's coming out of turn 14 in towards turn 15. That, not a really great start here for quite a few drivers, as Houdini and Bobbert Yates side by side yet again. The Williams on the outside on the hard tires. He's keeping up rather well with the Mercedes on those mediums, and it looks like now finally Houdini will pull away from the Williams for the time being. Nicky 64, I believe he's actually dropped 2 spots here. Yes, he has. Everyone else seems to have actually had a decent off. Shelly the Turtle up 2, VTEC up 2, 8 Eltonian up 2. Nicky 64, unfortunately for him, he's down 4. It'll be up 3 for Bobbert Yates, up 6 for Scuba Steve, and unfortunately in the negative direction, CPI T-Brum had that spin on the opening lap. He's down 11. DRS not in play until next lap, but as you can see here, Nicky 64 really hunting down the Red Bull of 8 Eltonian ahead as they head to the very tight 90-degree left-hander of turn 11. Let's see if anything can happen here. It looks like T-Brum's had another off towards the back. It doesn't look too crucial. Does he get it up and going? Yes, he does. A very horrible, terrible, not so good day for CPI T-Brum, although it is early days. We'll give him that. As it looks like now, what's that? That's the Haas of Helgeland once again. He has spun that, and that is a very, I'd say, delayed spin there. Coming out of turn 13, he gets it back up into the gears here, but that was a pretty odd place to lose it. I wonder, was perhaps contact involved? As it looks like VTEC, now he looks to have made somewhat of a mistake here. He's gone off. He gets back into the circuit, almost, I believe, taking the front wing of either the Williams or the Mercedes of a Houdini with him. I really, as JCast, 5-second penalty, severe collision with Scuba Steve. What has happened? There's so much it's struggling to keep track of now. I just really hope that the 2 Red Bulls didn't come together, because they were really battling for position, and I highly doubt they meant to be battling with each other. But if that's how it turned out, that's going to be not a very good one to go over at the end with the boys from Milton Keynes. It's Helgeland and T-Brum here. They're quite close together at the moment. T-Brum not really getting up to speed quite well enough to make an attack at Helgeland. Here's Villeneuve, the lone Ferrari on the grid today, representing the Scuderia. Can he find the 5/10 to get up to VTEC? He might want to strike while the iron's hot, or shall we perhaps say ice cold, as VTEC is fresh off that mistake last time out. And I hope it was a mistake. Again, I really hope it wasn't some sort of calamity between himself and his teammate of 8 Eltonian ahead. Matt Rosie, however, at the moment has pieced together a 2.5-second, almost 3-second lead over Shelly the Turtle, the championship leader. We've got 2 cars battling it ahead. It's Nicky 64 and it's 8 Eltonian heading down into the 14th corner. Let's see, can Nicky 64 perhaps try one down to the inside? He'll have the line if he does. Really late break there from Nicky 64, and I'm afraid he's outbraked himself as he really overshot the corner, and 8 Eltonian was able to reclaim the position quite easily there. Nicky 64 really went for it, and I have to commend the effort, but I'm afraid that one has not gone to plan whatsoever. And now he might find himself under attack from the AlphaTauri of Frontrunner. That one will be quite interesting to see there. Nicky 64, however, he's re-caught 8 Eltonian here. Nice little few car battle. VTech trying to find some maneuvers around Houdini. It looks like a couple of drivers on their way in. It's Scuba Steve and it's Helgelin. 0.3 of a second between VTech and Houdini. VTech's going to try it around the outside. Houdini really, I don't know if he was letting him have the spot or what that was. I'm not quite sure, but VTech's clearly had that one. Looks like Houdini was on the brakes quite early, way earlier than VTech was. I don't know if that was some sort of mistake or what happened, but VTech has made the overtake happen. Nicky 64 within 0.5 of a second again on the Red Bull ahead. It looks like we get a yellow flag towards the back. It's the Ferrari of Villeneuve. What's happened with him? It looks like, thankfully, it's only just a spin. And it has to be said, the circuit is quite nice in that you can pretty much kind of have a spin here and there and not actually hit anything. And that seems to be the trend so far here in the early goings. Nicky 64. Yeah, he'll want to make sure. Oh, it looks like Frontrunner nearly careened into the back of the Aston Martin there. He really went late braking down into turn 14. Almost really hit the back of Nicky 64. Thankfully, that crisis was averted. Houdini within 0.8 of VTech ahead. VTech in quite the hole here. He's not got clean air either. Or, well, he does have clean air, but he doesn't have DRS, and that one's going to be crucial. Neat little three-car battle here for the third spot. Front runners in this. Adaltonian leading the charge. So stuck. So, Nicky 64, it looks like. I don't want to say he's beating Adaltonian for pace now, because as you can see, he's 0.2 of a second faster than his previous lap through Sector 2. I'm just wondering where Nicky doesn't have perhaps the line and the way to get to Adaltonian. Is Adaltonian perhaps just that much faster through Sector 1? And perhaps through 2 is where Nicky's able to catch him. But still, it looks like Nicky 64 is still just too far away for something to be made there. Meanwhile, PWR Grim Reaper side by side with Bobbert Yates now as they head down the backstretch here. God, you're going to give me the same garbage camera angle? Like, come on, game. Anyways, Grim Reaper's going to get that position. He's going to pull around the outside of the Williams there. This front runner picks up a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. Nice overtake from PWR Grim Reaper. Nicky 64 within 0.2 now of Adaltonian. Adaltonian, perhaps, is he starting to sense some oversteer in his Red Bull? Is he playing it conservatively? It may actually just be the case where we are just about halfway through the tire lives estimated for these mediums. So anybody on these mediums are going to start feeling the effects of that really shortly. My words aren't working today, as it turns out. Nicky 64 once again. We got Frontrunner who is back into this mix now through the last spell of DRS down the backstretch as Scuba Steve 5 seconds for speeding into the pit lane. Frontrunner was outside of a second as he tried to battle the 2 cars ahead. And I'm just wondering, where is he perhaps losing the time? Did he have oversteer going through turns 12 and 13? Through the banked corner, we saw Adaltonian a little bit cautious with it last time by, and I think now Nicky 64, can he perhaps make a move at the Red Bull here? 6 seconds between Adaltonian and the second place car, Nicky 64's teammate, Shelly the Turtle, and another 4 seconds between himself and the leader of Matt Rosie. Sorry, Matt Rosie. It was Matt Rosie for the longest time. That's just what we know him as now. Down into turn 14, looks like everything's going to be kept clean this time, and it seems as if that overtake's going to have to wait. I don't really see anybody being able to make an overtake down the pit straight. Here comes Bobbert Yates looking for his payback on Grim Reaper. Does he have it? And he was really looking for the overtake there, but I think he ended up kind of backing out of it, just wasn't able to make the heavy braking without perhaps getting into the side of the McLaren there. Great car awareness from Bobbert Yates to not, I'd say, go balls to the wall, really. CPIT from down the inside of Villeneuve. Nicely done there. And now, mind you, this is about a 4-car battle here. We've got We've got Grim Reaper ahead of the train, Bobber Yates there behind, T-Brum behind him, and Villeneuve even behind that. And I must say, T-Brum's done a good job to kind of recover, get himself back into at least a competitive state now with the couple of cars ahead that he has. He's going to look around the left-hand side of Bobber Yates here. Yates is going to try to defend. Yates has gone really deep into the corner, and he's taking the McLaren with him. I tell you what, I think, did perhaps Bobber Yates lose focus there, realizing he had the McLaren within close quarters there. He was trying to late brake to defend against the move from T-Brum around the outside, and unfortunately, nobody won in that one, unless your name is CPI, T-Brum, and Villeneuve, because that has really gone your way. That was an impressive stroke of luck for those two. And now, Frontrunner, can he make a move on Nicky 64 here? Since we've gone away from Nicky 64, it doesn't seem like he's done quite well, as now it looks like, is that Villeneuve off at turn 13? Yes, it is. Spinning it back around. So unfortunately, good things don't last forever there for Villeneuve, as he has spun it out and is now behind both McLarens. But anyways, as we were saying, since we were last on with Nicky 64, he must have made a mistake. He's now a second and a half behind Adaltonian, and is now trying to re-attack Frontrunner here. Frontrunner's got 3 seconds for multiple warnings, track limits violations. Nicky 64 on the mediums. Let's actually go ahead and look once again. So the top 7 drivers on the medium tires, everyone else behind, immediately behind, P8 to P11 on the hards, Josh Sr. on the mediums, Villeneuve on the hards, Capital 58 on the softs, Helgeland medium, Scuba Steve on the softs as well. So I would say in probably about 5 or 6 laps time, we're going to be seeing those pit stops come into play. And that's going to be an interesting one there, because it really seems like all the drivers on the mediums are pretty much on level pace with each other. Drivers aren't really losing time. I'll say Adaltonian is really starting to fall back. Shelley the Turtle, about 4 laps ago, he was 6 seconds, and now it's almost 8 seconds now. So Adaltonian, the only driver that really seems to be losing time. However, the drivers behind him don't really seem to be gaining on him without the aid of DRS. Adaltonian seems to have a really good handle on the circuit, and I'm just hoping that he's able to hold on to it here. As Frontrunner really deep into the corner, he's going to have Nicky 64 tucked to the inside. And hey, look at that, VTEC's back in the mix. That's really good to see there. VTEC had a bit of an incident in the early stages, and has now actually gotten himself back into almost contention here, at least in DRS range. That's really good to see from him. Now inserting himself into this fight is VTEC in the 6th position. Great battling here so far. The Division 2 grid. Nicky 64 yet again looking forward on Frontrunner. 0.2 of a second. Will he find a late braking opportunity into turn 6? It doesn't look like that's going to be the case. However, hopefully he can keep it together and keep it clean. It looks like Bobber Yates has really gone deep through turn 3. Is that turn 3? Yeah, turn 3. Grim Reaper nearly got into his left rear tire. Remember, these two came together a couple of laps ago and really sent them tumbling down the order. So hopefully that one stays nice and tidy clean there. Because I knew what Bobber Yates was trying to do. He's trying to defend from T-Brum around the left-hand side. Sometimes as the car ahead, you have to try to late brake the car behind you. That's what he tried to do, but perhaps he forgot the McLaren was there. Unfortunately, both of them ended up spinning out. VTEC getting really close here to Nicky 64. Can VTEC find his way? Nicky 64 almost wanted to send him the long way around. I'm not actually sure why VTEC backed off so heavily there. Perhaps he recognized that contact could have been made and decided to take the temporary route of, okay, we'll wait until the next opportunity. It looks as if we got a car ahead that's Scuba Steve getting out of the way for some of the front runners. DRS open here for everybody in the train. Adaltonian, has to be said, his pace compared to the rest of the drivers here in the top 5, looking absolutely impeccable. He's not had DRS at all. He's letting these drivers battle behind him, and he's, I gotta say, he's pulling off quite a masterclass here. If he can finish on the podium, that'd be great for him. Not sure how many times he's finished on the podium. Out of all the races I've cast, honestly, yeah, I'm not quite sure. It'll be a damn good sight to see him wind up in third today. VTech edging closer to Nicky64. Can't find it yet. We're going to go back along with Bobbert Yates and Grim Reaper yet again. These two in close quarters. From the time before they spin to the time after they spin, they've stayed very close to each other and almost contact there again. Really good effort from Bobbert Yates. It doesn't look like he's going to get the overtake now unless he can hang it around the outside. Remember, he had 2 slips through this corner in the qualifying session. And it looks like Houdini and VTech... Oh, no, and VTech's gone off. Oh, and the moment we look away from VTech, who was making such good progress, slips it out again. That is so unfortunate for VTech. I gotta say, he's been doing a damn good job trying to get himself back up to back into gear here. Oh, that's a big slide for Nicky64. You start to see now the degradation coming into play. I would assume we're going to be seeing pit stops here shortly. It kind of looks as if the degradation is much higher than a comfortable level. Is on his way in. That's Scuba Steve, 5 seconds for speeding of the pit lane. I believe we'll be seeing his retirement from the race here, perhaps. No, I guess not. We got a car off. That's an Alfa Romeo. It's Capital 58, cutting the grass there on the inside of turn 12. Frontrunner, mind you, has the 3-second time penalty, but you wouldn't know it looking at the way he's driving. He's doing really well. He's staying competitive as well. In fact, he pretty much has to. Houdini behind. I think he's definitely going to lose the spot to Nicky64 if the result holds. He's got Houdini behind him, and it looks like, have we another yellow flag? No, nothing there. Gonna go back along with Bobbert Yates and Grim Reaper really quick. Very close quarters here. Little bit of a slip perhaps from Bobbert Yates. Not close enough to make that attacking move happen. Looks like that's going to be Adoltonian on his way in. I think it's fair to say it feels like an early stop. It really does. I know you can see that the cars are starting to struggle with the oversteer. You really do. The hard tires, they'll be able to go the rest of the way, no questions asked. But has Adoltonian stopped perhaps just a little bit too soon? It's actually a bit of a running joke now. Whenever we see Adoltonian come into the pits, I think it's a little bit of a strange decision, and he goes, yep, I agree with that. So I'm hoping it works out for Adoltonian here. Maybe a little early, however, you can start to see, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt here, because you can start to see some of these drivers are starting to face mistakes, and they're having to play it cautious. Nicky64 hasn't really played an attacking effort here to Frontrunner. Oh, and there goes Frontrunner. See, that's a mistake we're talking about. So perhaps Adoltonian could have played this right to the money here, because, as you can see, the drivers are struggling. Nicky64, yet again. Now, this is, I think, probably one of the hardest corners on the circuit to get right. And there goes Nicky64. That was a big slide from him. And thankfully, it's not gone too catastrophic there, but both of these two drivers having a little moment there, and I think we might see them in this time by. And speaking of seeing them in this time by, it's Matt Rosie on his way in. Shelly the Turtle, 5 seconds behind, 4.5 to be exact. It looks as if, yep, he's going to be coming in now. And what's this? Is that a safety car? It's a virtual safety car. My question to you is why? Why have we had that? Who has gone off? I don't see anything that would lead me to believe that we would need a virtual safety car, but a virtual safety car we have. Frontrunner, I believe, did he just make a front wing change? It's quite possible that he did. It took him a second to get out of the stall there. So yeah, virtual safety car looks to be the the cause for concern here. Nicky64 inherits the lead of the Grand Prix. It looks like is Adaltonian going to be able to make his way back up. I believe the drivers ahead of him, minus that of Shelley and Matt Rosie, haven't pit yet. Yeah, so Adaltonian's got front runner ahead of him, so he's actually come out behind, after all is said and done, to the AlphaTauri. However, 3 of the drivers ahead within the top 5 have yet to pit, so Adaltonian's not done bad here. I think he's made the right choice. And the virtual safety car is only going to help him, and plus, he's going to have the tires be warm once we get back up to green flag racing here. So, Adaltonian, hats off to you. I think you've done a good job here. Now he just has to keep it clean. DRS re-enabled, back to green flag racing. Grim Reaper and Bobbert Yates back at it again. You wouldn't believe it, but they've been going at it all race long. Scuba Steve, 5 seconds for speeding into the pit lane. 0.3 of a second between these two. They've been battling it all day, I must say. Despite the one moment they had going through turn 6, it's actually been great racing between these two, and I hope it continues. They're going to have to both come into the pits here shortly. Actually, that's not true at all. They've actually started both on the hard tires. And this is where, now CPI T-Brum, watch this. He is back into the top 4 here, as Nicky64 on his way in. Let's hope he gets a good stop. Matt Rosie retakes the lead of the Grand Prix. Shelley the Turtle's going to be passing his teammate here shortly. CPI T-Brum hasn't pit yet. He has started on the hards, and this is where this is where it's come into play. This is where we thought that perhaps it was going to do good. Can Nicky64 come out ahead of Adaltonian? The answer is no. Adaltonian stays ahead of the Aston Martin. J-Cast and T-Brum still have to pit. They're both on the hard tires. They started the race on that compound, so they should be good, at least for another probably 3. I'd say no more than 6 laps-ish, because we're seeing the drivers on the mediums come in at about 13, and the game says the pit window doesn't start until 12, so perhaps the degradation is higher than we anticipated, and we could see the drivers on the hards make their stop within 5 laps or less. That's going to be my prediction. After all that said and done, it looks like we had a yellow flag there temporarily. Grim Reaper and Yates battling it out again, and now I believe, is that Houdini behind him? Yes, it is. Oh, I'm sorry, what's that there? Oh, it's just Scuba Steve, I think, getting out of the way. That almost had a slight heart attack there. That would have been quite something. Looks like Grim Reaper on his way in now. Uh-oh. Wait. Okay, I thought he pulled a Lewis Hamilton there for a second. As it turns out, the game just glitched slightly, and he actually did okay. Grim Reaper on his way in. Okay, did you see that too? He was like, it looked as if he wanted to go into the pits and then didn't make up his mind and then turned through the gravel. That wasn't actually the case. It's just what the game showed us, and now it has to be said the field decently spread apart here, as we're about halfway through this Grand Prix. I'd say, well, yeah, we're actually right there, aren't we? Oh, and that's a big slide then from Frontrunner. Even on the fresh hards, you can see oversteer is definitely a thing. I know only a really select few drivers like this circuit. I do, from a caster standpoint. It's a track that breeds mistakes, and it's a very interesting track strategy-wise. I mean, yeah, I kind of appreciate China, the racetrack. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Matt Rosie, fastest lap of the session. It's a 1:36.268. I tell you what, Matt Rosie, I think ever since the start of this Grand Prix, has had himself a fairly dominant day so far. And really good to see for him. Bobbert Yates on his way into the pits. He's going to be coming in. So it looks like 14 laps is what we're going to get on the hards. J-Cast, however, has stayed out to this point 15 laps. That's he's made that work to this point. He's got Front Runner behind him, and Front Runner, obviously, on the fresh tires, is going to want to get around the Alfa Romeo as quick as he can, and I think it's going to be coming right here. No, it doesn't. As it turns out, he's going to wait a little bit longer. Scuba Steve with about his... He retires now. I think he had about 20 seconds there in penalties, unfortunately for him. Front Runner looking down to the inside of J-Cast there, wasn't able to make the move happen, although he is right there when he wants to make that move, and I think once DRS gets into play, as it inevitably will, he will get that spot, as naturally fresh hards are going to be much faster. And credit to J-Cast for being able to hold on this long on these tires. It's got to be absolutely draining to try to keep the race clean. As far as no mistakes, and he's done quite well so far. Front Runner, down to the inside here, I think he'll have this position rather easily, it has to be said. Down into turn 14, yep, that one's going to go pretty much just as we expected. VTEC, however, he's in hot pursuit of Houdini here. Bit far away, CPI T-Brum coming in to make his stop now. Houdini's gone a little bit wide through turn 14 and 15, it has to be said. J-Cast on his way in as well. Adaltonian will move up to 4th. So good for Adaltonian. I'm afraid he wasn't quite fast enough to get the undercut on Front Runner. Front Runner does have 3 seconds in penalties, but he is just about 3 seconds in front of Adaltonian. Ooh, that one's going to be a fun one to keep an eye on, that part's for sure. Adaltonian just under 3 seconds. We're talking 5/100ths of a second. He'll have to keep it clean. I'm afraid he's not had a great go through turn 6 now. PWR Grim Reefer. I was going to say overtaking J-Cast there. It looks like J-Cast has only just now made his way out of the pits. Here's VTEC. Looking forward on Houdini. These two had a almost battle last time around. Hopefully we'll be looking at one here. Looks as if at the moment VTEC once again trying to bounce back. That's been the story of VTEC's day. He had an incident really early on, and then about 4 laps ago-ish, whenever he made his stop, no, it was definitely more than that, probably looking at about 7 or 8 now. He had to spin through a turn 12. And here he goes now, down to the, I say down to the inside, it's actually around the outside of Houdini, down the straight. He's put himself into the 6th position. Nicely done from VTEC to make the move. He'll have lost a spot at the end of the day, but has to be said, recovery drive after recovery drive for VTEC, and he's done just that. And he's, gotta say, he's done really well to keep himself in this race. CPI T-Brum, I'm going to be watching him, fresh medium tires. He'll have an advantage over the drivers immediately around him, that being his teammate of Houdini, but does he have enough time to strike the rest of even perhaps the top 5 here? That's going to be one to pay attention for sure. Houdini, I think it has to be said, maybe didn't take turn 6 as cleanly there as he would have liked to. He's lost about a 1/10 and a half back to VTEC. Drops down to 5th, holds the throttle back up to 6th. He's done well, it looks like. Is he perhaps low on fuel, Houdini, as well? The indicator is a solid red on the gasoline, so we'd have to expect that perhaps he might be nearing dead even on fuel, which is a very dangerous game to play, that part's for sure. I'd assume the virtual safety car has helped him out a little bit, but if you were playing the game for the safety car here today, I think you might be disappointed. I'm not sure it's going to be on its way anytime soon. Nikki64, yet again, not really in contest of Adaltonian's position here. Adaltonian's been able to defend Nikki64 all day long so far. Looks as if Houdini now still starting to drop behind. His teammate, however, of T-Brum, has made up over 2 seconds this past lap on his teammate ahead. T-Brum fast lap 1:36.258. Yellow flag. That's a McLaren. That's Josh Senior. He's had a spin coming out of turn number 10. A bit of an elongated spin, I'd say. Thankfully, it doesn't appear that he's hit anything, and we can still resume green flag racing here. Let's just take a look. Yeah, he's not hit anything, has he? Once again, Bobbert Yates and PWR Grim Reaper. It looks like, it seems like we've really looked upon this battle a lot today. It's been quite interesting, and it's just about spilled over, and in fact, it did spill over once, so we're going to be looking at it closely. Because, as we said, it's been great racing between the two. I know I've said that a couple times already, but still. And you know, that's a really key thing. That's the difference between a good driver and a great driver, is someone that can, you know, perhaps make a mistake, but then is able to bounce back from it in the long run. That being VTech. I think VTech's done a great job of that so far today. He's had a few times where he was on the cusp of the podium, perhaps, and he spun out of contention, but he's right back up there within the top 6. I'd consider that a good day from VTech. He's really had the odds against him. I think, really, Bobbert Yates, despite the contact to Grim Reaper, he's been able to carry on with the two, and be able to resume great racing with them and not have it boil over into any additional mistakes from him. So you have to give him credit there. So 9 laps to go now. The field's a bit spread out, to say the least. Although it looks like the two Mercedes drivers might just meet up with each other quite shortly. T-Brum, remember, on the fresh mediums, he pit for them at the pit window. So we'll have to see how much of a defending job his teammate of Houdini does. I wouldn't assume it's going to be too much. T-Brum, mind you. Well, let's once again look at the driver's standings with Nicky 64. I think Adeltonian may have perhaps made a mistake, because suddenly Nicky 64 is within that second. VTech into today's second in the championship, so it seems as if... well, he won't be overtaking Nicky 64, or Nicky 64 won't be overtaking him, because it's only a 1 position difference at the moment. But yeah, Houdini 4th behind Nicky 64 by 1 point heading in today. Nicky 64 will get a good lead on that. T-Brum down in 7th, but it'll be a good result for him. Matt Rosie in 10th, it'll be a great result from him. Shelly the Turtle 1st in the standings. It'll lengthen his lead at the top even more if he's able to make it happen. So CPI T-Brum during that was able to get around his teammate of Houdini, and I think we kind of had to expect that. T-Brum fastest lap 1:36.1. That's actually incredible. Helgeland now. So, these two drivers seem to have had a quiet day, at least Josh Senior then. Josh Senior, despite all this, hasn't improved nor lost any positions, and now he's battling with Helgeland here for that 13th spot. Let's go along with these two for a little bit. Well, we have, I don't want to say lull in the action, but it doesn't seem as if we've got any particularly close battles at the moment, minus that of Bobbert Yates and Grim Reaper, and it looks like something has happened with Helgeland. What has happened there? That was odd. Did you see that? It's like he failed to kind of pick it up. Oh no, it's CPI T-Brum. And I'm afraid CPI T-Brum, for his sake, and that's unfortunate. I tell you what, he was trying really hard to get back up within contention here, and perhaps he's pushed the car a little too hard. I'm guilty of it myself. Helgeland and Josh Senior were, for the time being, side by side. Helgeland was able to hold him off as we went along with the Mercedes in distress. Bobbert Yates, I think, perhaps with DRS, might have a good move at Grim Reaper here if he were to try. Perhaps out of turn 12. Bobbert Yates didn't get a good go through 11. Who gets the better acceleration here through turn 12 and 13? Let's see who it is. It looks like at the moment the answer is going to be Grim Reaper, although Bobbert Yates is going to have DRS. Closing in on him. Speaking of DRS, Well, Nicky 64 had it. And I tell you what, he is edging ever so closer to Adaltonian here. Adaltonian, I hope he's actually not too disappointed with the 4th place finish if that's the case. He is about 0.4 of a second away from that podium. But I think even for him, if he was to get 4th place here, even 5th, he'd have to be pretty happy with it. As it looks again, CPI T-Brum, something's happened with him, and I'm afraid, as he hit the wall that time, yes, he has. No damage done, but that's coming out of turn 4. And I'm afraid it just goes bad to worse for last week's Division 1 winner at Monza. Nicky 64 closing down on Adaltonian, perhaps. Will he have a move once DRS comes into play? You never know. I mean, we've seen crazier things. We saw Nicky 64 outbrake himself earlier, and I tell you what, Adaltonian's gotten some great acceleration out of turn 13, and that's put actually a second in between the two there. Nicky 64 is going to be able to close back in with the aid of DRS, albeit now he's got a 0.9 of a second deficit to overcome. Nicky 64 has to be said, I believe, the most experienced driver on this grid as far as Midwest F1. I'm absolutely 100% saying that. That's got to be true. Adaltonian, a seasoned Division 2 veteran in his own right. And hopefully here he'll be doing enough to kind of hold off Nicky 64 here. I think right now for Adaltonian, it's less about catching up the front runner and more about holding off Nicky 64 because the Aston Martin really is in close pursuit and has been for quite some time now. These two drivers have been doing their best to keep the battle good all day, and they've done just that. The battle really hasn't exceeded more than 1.5 seconds, and even then, when it has, it's been because of a pit window or cars in the way. Adaltonian for now, and I tell you what, it does look like he is losing ground behind to Nicky 64, but this is where Nicky 64 was gaining on him last time, and then Adaltonian got a great exit of 13. Does that happen again? Let's see what happens. Adaltonian's going to cover off the inside line. It's a fairly even getaway between the two of them, I'll say that much. Nicky 64, 0.3 of a second away. I think he's going to have the position this time. He's going to look down to the inside. Adaltonian trying to charge up his battery down into turn 14. Nicky 64, he's going to have that one very nice and tidy by the Aston Martin driver. Adaltonian trying to regain some battery life here. He's down to his last 11%, whereas Nicky 64 hasn't been so liberal with the usage of it. And Nicky 64 starting to pull away now, and now once again, well, this is quite interesting. The Red Bulls of Adaltonian VTEC, all they've done is swap positions. Adaltonian is up 1, VTEC is down 1. Robert Yates and Grim Reaper once again exiting turn 16. It looks as if Robert Yates at the moment had better acceleration at a 16, although again, it's just not going to be enough to catch up to the McLaren ahead. Both of these drivers, respectively, I mean, Grim Reaper's up 7, Yates is only up 1, but I mean, they've still considerably had decent races despite their incident earlier on. Decent points haul for the both of them. I think they could get on with that, really. Grim Reaper kind of parked it on the apex there. Yates really had to do his best to get the car back down in order to make the corner, and that's what we saw just then. It looks like is Bobbert Yates going to be able to find some sort of advantage here over the McLaren. It has to be said, there hasn't been many advantages at all in this race, really. It's been very even racing all day. .6 of a second. Still, I think, too far away. As you can see, Bobbert Yates has used his energy store here, and unfortunately, he's not even really gaining on the McLaren ahead. Oh, I think, I tell you what, he's kind of messed up the braking zone there, hasn't Bobber Yates? He's going to be losing some time outside of a second there temporarily. I think he'll have DRS again. Yes, he will. So he was able to stay within that 1 second gap. But it looked to me like he did not have an easy trip through the turn 14 braking zone, as we've got Matt Rossi. Oh, hang on, that was a slide there. That's CPI T-Brum, thankfully again. Now that is, I believe, the second time he's had that happen coming out of turn 4. Thankfully, yet again, he hasn't hit anything. Yeah, well, say what you will about CPI T-Brum. I mean, he's had quite a few incidents today, but at least he's going to come home with a respectable points haul. It's really all you can ask for after the day he's had, I'm afraid. Started second. Finds himself down to P8, and there he is again. That's off on the track this time. And I'm afraid commentator's curse comes into play. Sincere apologies to him, but here's Bobber Yates. Now, this is something we haven't seen today, is a move into turn 11, and he backed out of it, man. I think if he had a braking maneuver there into turn 11, he could have had that. Maybe he's going to save it through DRS. He's going to have it where perhaps he knows there's not going to be that much risk involved, as we've got 3 laps to go here, 2.5 at this point, realistically. Bobber Yates within DRS of Grim Reefer, but it doesn't look like it's going to be enough. I think Bobber Yates has really missed an opportunity there into turn 11. Oh my god, he's done it again, and no, he hasn't that. My god, I mean, sometimes... That was almost atrocious, that one. That one would have been terrible. I think Bobber Yates is, he'll be thankful he didn't hit him that time, because that would have been double DNF for sure, with how much speed he was carrying into that corner. Uh-oh. Okay, that's in the pits, never mind. You know, that's unfortunate, T-Brum. I think he would have appreciated P11 points over P15 if he's even made 90%. I don't know the maths exactly. I'm going to assume that he did. I mean, lap 26. Starting lap 27 now is Matt Rossi. He's had the lead all to himself all day long. Adel Tonian and Vitek, the 2 Red Bull teammates. Adel Tonian now starting to kind of claw within reach of Nicky 64 here. Perhaps he can put himself in 4th. They're going to have 2 laps to go here. Adel Tonian bit wide coming out of 16, and Nicky 64, I'm afraid, is going to get a much better exit. And Vitek is going to have to start pressuring his teammate here. And I say that, but you don't really want to pressure your teammate. Sometimes it's just you have to. As Vitek wants those points as well. You can't discredit him. A little squirrely on the throttle with Adel Tonian. He looked like he absolutely smacked on the rev limiter through 3rd and 4th gear. Actually faster through Sector 1 than his previous attempt by 0.8 of a second. You can see he's having a little bit of difficulty with that braking zone into turn 6. It's a very tight corner. Oh, and speaking of tight corners, here comes Bobber Yates on Grim Reefer. That was almost contact there. Yates had to really hit the brakes to avoid him. Bobber Yates now looking for the left. I think perhaps there was a bump there to Grim Reefer ahead. It certainly looked like there could have been one. Yates is really going to try to get his elbows out. On the outside, can he switch back to the inside? Grim Reaper did well to hold off the inside line and prevent Yates from making that move. Now through turn 7. Oh, Grim Reaper kind of parked it on the apex there, and that's a high-speed corner. You don't really want to be doing that. That's a bump there. And Yates is letting that one get away from him, I'm afraid. Final lap of the Grand Prix. Matt Rossi starting it now. Makes his way through Sector 1. A day that's been all to himself, really, it has to be said. Adel Tonian exiting turn 16. He'll have one more attempt at Nicky 64. He's going to have to make it count if he does. Matt Rossi, look, perhaps a little slow exiting the corner there. It looked like he wasn't on the throttle that quickly. Front runner is going to be doing enough here to hold on to the 3rd position despite his penalty. Matt Rosie's got a 12-second gap. All he needs to do here is pretty much coast home. And I think that's pretty much what he's going to do as well. And this is absolutely incredible here. So far this season, we have had 6 different winners. DTR No Jug week 1, Hoxid week 2, Saith week 3, Clay the Monkeys week 4, Got Palmer week 5, Cali Rob week 6, and now, for the 7th week in a row, we will have a new driver winning. So far this season, it's Matt Rosie. It's a commanding display here in Division 2. He will win the Chinese Grand Prix. It's been an absolutely incredible day for him. One that I'm sure he won't be forgetting anytime soon. Shelly the Turtle, 12 seconds behind. He'll be taking second. And Frontrunner looks like he'll be able to claim third. Not a bad day from Frontrunner himself. He's got the penalty, but a podium is nothing to be ashamed about. Not at all. Nicky64 is going to come home 4th. Adoltonian, it's been a brilliant effort all day long. All he can manage is 5th. Unfortunately for him, VTech 6th. Houdini looks like he's going to be coming home 7th. Grim Reaper 8th, unless Bobber Yates can make a move at him here towards turn 14. Well, we might try it around the outside here. Good effort. Does Grim Reaper make the mistake? No, he doesn't. In fact, Bobber Yates gets squirrely getting on the throttle. Oh, here we go towards the line. Looks like Grim Reaper's going to be able to get him. I will say, despite the incidents that these two drivers had of Grim Reaper and Bobber Yates, it was damn good racing all day between the two. Very fun to watch. But it's Matt Rosie becoming the 7th different winner of the Division 2 season here in China. So after it's all said and done here in China, we've had our 7th different winner of the season. It's Matt Rosie in the Williams taking first place. Shelly the Turtle 2nd, Frontrunner 3rd, Nicky64 in 4th, Adoltonian and VTech 5th and 6th, Houdini 7th, Grim Reaper 8th, Bobber Yates 9th, 10th is Jcast, 11th Villeneuve, 12th is Helgeland, 13th Josh Sr., 14th is Capital 58, 15th is T-Brum, and unfortunately everybody, including T-Brum behind, did not finish the race. And it's been an incredible race for Division 2, and next week it may get even better as we head to Jeddah, the Jeddah Corniche Circuit in Saudi Arabia for Week 8 of the Midwest F1 season. Hotspot, it's been a pleasure joining you on the call, as always, and we'll see you next time out.